Okay, real quick, before we even say hello, if someone in England tells you to knock them up in the morning, do not panic. I repeat, do not panic. It just means wake them up with a knock on the door. We'll get to why that's absolutely hilarious in about 20 minutes.
And on that note, welcome to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Mary, and today we are diving headfirst into one of the most gloriously chaotic topics in the English-speaking world, American English versus British English. Same language, wildly different experience.
We're talking spelling, vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar, cultural phrases, the whole package. And I promise you, by the end of this episode, you will never again stand in a London street looking completely lost when someone tells you to take the lift to the first floor.
Because the first floor in Britain, not what you think it is. But again, we'll get there. Alex, I feel like you've been waiting your entire language nerd life for this episode. Sure, buddy, sure. Okay, let's actually start because we have a lot to get through and I want to make sure we get to the quiz, which, by the way, I am going to absolutely demolish you in, just setting expectations.
Big talk from someone who thought Fortnite was a video game and only a video game until last year.
Okay, first of all, in my defense, it kind of is mostly a video game for most Americans. We will address that. Let's start easy. Let's start with spelling, because this is the thing that trips everyone up when they're writing or texting someone from the other side of the pond.
Right, so here's a fun way to think about it. The British spelling is basically the English that crossed the Atlantic in the 1600s and 1700s, and then America sort of streamlined it. A guy named Noah Webster, yes, the dictionary guy, he basically decided in the early 1800s that American English needed its own identity.
Mm-hmm.
So he deliberately simplified a lot of spellings. He dropped the U from words like color, flavor, neighbor, and honor. Americans spell those color, flavor, neighbor, honor.
Right, yeah. And honestly, I always think of it like someone looked at the word color and said, you know what, that U is just freeloading. It's out.
Ha, that's exactly what happened. And it's not just the U. The RE versus ER ending is another big one. British English says center, theater, fiber. Americans flip it. Center, theater, fiber.
And then there's the double consonant thing, which I find so interesting. In British English, if you're talking about traveling, like taking a trip, you double the L. Travelling. Americans just do one L, traveling.
Exactly. Same thing with words like organization versus organization. British English keeps the S, American English uses a Z. And then there's the completely wild ones like check versus check or tire versus tire.
Tire always gets me. Tyre. Like, if you didn't know that, you'd look at it and go, is that a name? Is tire a person? Why is this on my car?
And gray versus gray. British spelling is G-R-E-Y. American spelling is G-R-A-Y. Both are correct within their own systems, but I cannot tell you how many editors I've seen argue about this one.
Oh, the gray wars are real on the internet. And then catalog versus catalog. British keeps the UE at the end. Americans drop it, just like they dropped the U from color. America really has a thing about efficiency in spelling.
We really do. Okay, so here's a quick summary for our listeners. When you see a word spelled with an OUR ending, RE ending, a double L where you wouldn't expect it, or a CE instead of SE, like defense versus defense, you're probably looking at British English.
Perfect. Okay, now this is the part of the episode I have been personally excited about since Alex and I decided to record this, vocabulary differences, because this is where things get genuinely funny, like someone could get hurt funny.
Let's start with the legendary one, trousers versus pants, because this one has caused so much confusion and, honestly, some deeply embarrassing moments.
Okay, so in American English, pants means trousers. Your jeans, your dress slacks, your sweatpants, all pants. Normal, fine, everyone's on the same page.
Right.
In British English, pants means underwear, specifically underpants. So imagine you're an American visiting London, you're getting dressed in the morning, and you cheerfully say to your British host, "Oh, I love your pants." And they are horrified.
Because in their mind, you just complimented their underwear out of nowhere over breakfast.
Over breakfast, unprompted. And then there's knickers, which is also the word for women's underwear in British English. And I love that we can just name that and move on like the adults we are.
Moving on. So if pants are underwear in Britain, what do they call actual trousers? Trousers. They just say trousers. It's in the name.
Which is fair. Okay, the boot one is also so good. In Britain, the boot of a car is the trunk, like the storage space in the back. So a British person might say, "Can you pop the boot?" And an American hears that and thinks, "They want me to kick a shoe?"
And similarly, the bonnet in Britain is the hood of the car, the front part that opens up over the engine. But bonnet in American English is just a hat, particularly associated with like prairie bonnets or Easter bonnets.
So if a British mechanic says, "Let's have a look under the bonnet," don't expect them to start digging under a sun hat. They want to look at your engine. Right. Now, chips versus biscuits. Oh my gosh, this one is a whole mess. So in Britain, chips are what Americans call French fries. Thick cut, hot, eaten with everything. But in America, chips are what the British call crisps. Thin, crunchy, in a bag, eaten at your desk pretending you're not stress eating.
Ha, accurate. And biscuits. In Britain, a biscuit is basically what Americans call a cookie. Flat, sweet, often dunked in tea. But in America, a biscuit is a completely different food. It's a fluffy, soft, savory bread roll, often eaten with gravy.
So, if a British person comes to a Southern American diner and orders biscuits expecting cookies, they're getting a very different, though arguably still delicious, food experience.
Biscuits and gravy would genuinely baffle most British visitors. Speaking of buildings, lift versus elevator. British people take the lift. Americans take the elevator. Same box, same vertical journey, completely different name.
And flat versus apartment. In Britain, you live in a flat. In America, you live in an apartment. Technically same thing, a residential unit in a larger building, but flat sounds so much more sophisticated, doesn't it? Like, I have a flat in London versus I have an apartment in Cleveland. The flat just wins on vibes alone.
Cleveland apartment owners everywhere just felt that.
Sorry, Cleveland, you're lovely. Okay, mobile versus cell phone. In Britain, your phone is your mobile. Have you got your mobile? In America, it's your cell phone, or just your phone, because at this point, it is just your phone. And torch versus flashlight. In Britain, a torch is a handheld, battery-powered light. In America, that same item is a flashlight, and a torch is something you dramatically set on fire. So you'd never say in America, "Grab the torch so we can look in the basement." That's got a very different energy.
Very different energy. And rubbish versus trash or garbage. In Britain, rubbish is the general word for waste. Put it in the rubbish. In America, it's trash or garbage. Also, British people use rubbish as an adjective meaning something is terrible, like that film was absolute rubbish, which is brilliant.
I genuinely wish Americans used rubbish as an insult more. That presentation was absolute rubbish. It just sounds so much more withering than saying that was trash.
It's the accent that does it. Everything sounds more withering in a British accent. Okay, nappy versus diaper. In Britain, babies wear nappies. In America, they wear diapers. And if you're in Britain and ask a pharmacy for diapers, you might get a blank look.
And queue versus line. This is one that trips up so many American tourists. In Britain, you queue, you stand in a queue. Queuing is almost a national sport. You do not cut the queue. It is a serious social crime.
In America, you stand in line, and cutting in line will get you an angry stare. But in Britain, cutting the queue might actually end a friendship.
Permanently. Okay, I love this next one. Fancy. In British English, fancy is a verb that means to like something or someone. Do you fancy a cup of tea? Means, would you like some tea? I quite fancy him means I kind of like him romantically. In American English, fancy means elaborate or high-end. That's a fancy restaurant. So different.
Right. And then there's bloke, which is just a British word for a regular guy. He's a nice bloke. Americans say dude or guy. And Fortnite, which Mary so memorably associated only with a Battle Royale video game.
I said I know what it actually means now, Alex.
A fortnight simply means 2 weeks. It comes from 14 nights. British people use it naturally all the time. I'll be back in a fortnight. Americans almost never use this word at all unless they're talking about the game.
I love that so much. Okay, let's move into pronunciation differences because this is where things get genuinely heated.
Oh, yes. Yes, they do. Let's start with the one that I think is the most surprising to people. Herb, the plant. Americans say herb. The H is completely silent. Herb.
Right.
The British say herb. They actually say the H, which makes more phonetic sense. The H is right there, but Americans just quietly dropped it, like they dropped the U from color, and now we all act like it was always that way.
Schedule. Americans say schedule. British people say schedule. I remember the first time I heard that, I genuinely didn't know what word they were saying.
Right. The sh says a sh sound in British English because of the Greek and Latin influence on pronunciation rules. It's the same reason school sounds the same in both, but schedule diverged. Language is wild.
And advertisement. Americans put the stress on the A at the start. Advertisement. British people stress the ver in the middle. Advertisement. It's the same word and it sounds completely different.
Vitamin. Americans say vitamin with a long I sound. British people say vitamin, short I. Same with privacy. Americans say privacy. British say privacy.
Privacy is a great one too. Americans say garage with the stress at the end and almost a French-influenced sound. British people say garage with the stress at the front, making it much more clipped and practical.
That's actually really cool. See, this is why I keep Alex around everyone. He makes the weird stuff make sense. Okay, let's talk grammar, and then I promised you a quiz, and a quiz is what you're gonna get.
Grammar differences. These are subtle, but they come up constantly. The big one is gotten. Americans say, I've gotten better at this. British people would say, I've got better at this. In British English, gotten as a past participle is pretty much obsolete. It sounds almost archaic.
Right.
And prepositions shift too. Americans say on the weekend. British people say at the weekend. Both mean the same thing, during Saturday and Sunday, but the preposition choice is just different.
And collective nouns. This is a grammar nerd special, Alex, so take it away.
Thank you. So collective nouns are words like team, government, band, committee. In American English, these are treated as singular. The team is playing tonight. The government has released a statement. In British English, they're treated as plural. The team are playing tonight. The government have released a statement.
Which one is correct? Both. Within their own systems, both are grammatically valid. It's just one of those things where if you're writing for a British audience and you say the band is performing, an editor might flag it. Context is everything.
And finally, the classic question construction difference. Americans ask, do you have a pen? British people ask, have you got a pen? Both work, both are totally understood, but have you got is so quintessentially British, it's almost become a stereotype.
All right, quiz time. I'm excited. I have been holding this in since the intro.
Okay, listeners, here's how this works. Mary and I are going to quiz each other, and you can play along at home. The rule is you have 5 seconds to answer. No stalling, no, well, technically.
No, well, technically, that rule was specifically made for Alex. Okay, I'll go first. Alex, what do British people call the front storage compartment of a car, the one under the hood?
There's no storage compartment under the bonnet. That's the engine. You mean the back storage. That's the boot.
I was testing you with the misdirection. You still got it. Fine, 1 point for Alex. My turn to be quizzed. Go.
Okay, Mary. In British English, what is a nappy?
A diaper. Baby diaper. Point for me. Okay, your turn again. What do the British call what Americans call a flashlight?
Torch. Easy.
Too easy. Okay, harder one. How do the British pronounce the word schedule?
Schedule.
Correct. Fine, you're doing well. Okay, last quiz question, and this one trips everyone up. An American asks for directions, and someone says it's on the first floor. What floor are they actually talking about in Britain?
The second floor by American standards. In Britain, the ground floor is what Americans call the first floor, so the British first floor is one level up from street level.
Exactly, which causes so much confusion in hotels. So many Americans have stood outside the wrong room going, "Why won't my key work?" because they got off one floor too early. The quiz is officially a draw. I'm calling it a draw.
I had more correct answers.
It's a draw, Alex. Moving on. Cultural phrases. And we promised you knocked up, so here we go.
Okay, so in American English, knocked up is a fairly crude slang term for being pregnant. It's informal, a little edgy, not something you'd say in a formal setting.
Right.
In traditional British English, knock someone up just means to wake someone up by knocking on their door. I'll knock you up at 7 in the morning. A perfectly friendly, innocent offer. You can imagine the absolute panic this causes when a British person says this to an American colleague for the first time.
The American colleague's face, just imagine it. Just the range of emotions happening in real time.
Context is everyone. Context is everything. Now, bloody hell, Americans hear this and often think it's a very serious curse, like something terrible just happened and someone is very upset.
But actually, it's just a general exclamation. It can mean surprise, mild frustration, excitement. Bloody hell, that's a big sandwich. That's not a crisis, that's a compliment to the sandwich.
Ah, cheers is incredible. Americans use cheers when clinking glasses in a toast. That's it, one function. But in British English, cheers means thank you, goodbye, you're welcome, nice one, good luck, I acknowledge what you said, and also yes, still a toast. It does everything.
It's doing the work of at least 6 different words, and it's just thriving. Here's your coffee. Cheers. Have a nice day. Cheers. The building's on fire. Oh, cheers for letting me know.
Okay, word of the day. Mary, you want to do the honors?
I do. Our word of the day today is gobsmacked. Gobsmacked. It's a wonderful British English word that means completely astonished, utterly shocked, like your mouth dropped open in pure disbelief.
It comes from gob, which is British slang for your mouth, and smacked, like your mouth has been smacked open by surprise. I was absolutely gobsmacked when I found out the truth. It's so expressive, and I genuinely think Americans should adopt it immediately.
Fully agree. I was gobsmacked just hits differently than I was shocked. It's got texture, it's got personality. Use it, tell your friends, start a gobsmacked revolution.
Okay, let's bring this home with a big picture takeaway, because I think the most important thing from today, beyond all the specific words and spellings and pronunciations, is this. Neither version is wrong. American English and British English are both valid, rich, evolving systems of the same language.
And actually, knowing both makes you a more flexible, more effective communicator. Whether you're writing an email to a London-based colleague, traveling through the UK, watching British TV, or reading a British novel, understanding these differences means you don't get thrown off. You can adapt.
Think of it like this. It's 2 dialects of the same language, shaped by geography and history and a whole lot of centuries going by. The differences are fascinating, not confusing, once you know what to look for. And today, you've learned a lot of what to look for.
Okay, here is your listener challenge for the week. And we're serious about this one. We want you to actually do it. For the next 7 days, try using at least one British English word every single day in your normal conversations. Just drop it in naturally and see what happens.
Say gobsmacked when something surprises you. Say brilliant instead of awesome. Tell someone their work is rubbish instead of terrible, though maybe gauge the audience on that one. Say cheers when someone does you a favor and watch them wonder if you're suddenly British.
And if you're British listening to this, we see you, we love you. Your challenge is to try an American English word. Say awesome instead of brilliant. Say elevator instead of lift. Call a cookie just once and feel how strange and liberating it is.
Share what happens. Tag us, send us a message, let us know how your week of linguistic experimentation went, because language is alive and playful, and you are allowed to have fun with it.
This has been such a good episode, honestly. Alex, I feel like I have learned things today, and I researched this with you.
Same. Every time we dig into a topic like this, I find something new. Language just keeps going. It never stops evolving, never stops surprising you.
Which is honestly the most exciting thing about it. All right, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Genuinely, it means the world. If this episode made you laugh or taught you something or made you panic briefly about the word pants, share it with a friend. They need to know this too.
Especially the pants thing. That one could save someone from a genuinely awkward brunch situation. I'm Alex, and I'll see you in the next one.
And I'm Mary. Stay curious, stay gobsmacked, and remember, wherever you are in the English-speaking world, you're speaking something beautiful. Cheers, everyone.